This is Real Life Real Estate Investing, where we talk about real life real estate situations, but we bring you real life real estate solutions. I'm your host, Glenn Glasper, affectionately known as Mr. Dial Out of a Dime. And I have with me the man, the myth, the legend himself. I call him the king of technology investing, Mr. Don DeRosa. Okay, Don, now listen. First of all, I don't want you showing off on me with your camera switching and all that, man.
You got it. You got to flaunt it, right?
I know, right? All your super technology stuff you got going over there. At least after you give me a class on all that, anyway.
Happy to do that.
But listen, Don, I want to thank you so much for getting on with me today. This again is long overdue, man. I'm gonna have to find a way to get like 4 or 5 people on the show at one time, man, because once a week, it's only 50 something weeks, man. All you great folks, I got to catch you when you're not busy, man. So I'm glad I had an opportunity to catch you. Of course, being quarantined is easy to catch you now. So,
believe it or not, I'm busier now than I was when I was able to get out of the house. I mean,
well, you know what? I'm feeling that. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised how busy, how much, like, this is a 4th bedroom of ours that we don't ever use. We call it our Harry Potter room because it's the smallest bedroom we have, but it's great for my office. But I've spent more time in this office in the last 3 weeks than I have in probably the last 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of why you see all this. I mean, I've been, getting it ready for my own show. So when I have that, we'll have you on as a guest. I'm kind of learning from you on that one.
Yeah. Well, you far more advanced in the technology area, man, than I am. So I'm certainly going to need to learn a bit more about how to, get my screens switching and everything. I said, man, wow. Yeah, Don coming on my show making me look bad.
Nah, I just, that's part of what I've been doing for the last 3 weeks,
Wow.
setting this up and, just kind of, I was always taught when I was young, if you're going to do something, be the best at it.
And listen, by far, you are doing the best at it. I mean, you've always been a whiz with technology, man. You were one of the first people from as far as I remember, even from when the iPad came out some years ago. I think you were teaching people how to use the iPad to invest in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that from it had to be like 10 or 15 years ago almost.
Well, when the iPad first came out, I'll back up even further than that. For years, you used to have these tablets, and let me give you a little background on myself.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I came from Airborne Express, and I was a district manager for them. And I was one of the youngest they had ever had in their history. And my job kind of morphed into an efficiency expert, if you will. My job would go to train other facilities and other supervisors to be the best at efficiencies, time studies, where you get out of your vehicle, you put your keys on your finger, and you do certain ways you put it in drive and grab your seatbelt, saving seconds, right? Everybody thinks, well, that's only saving you a fraction of a second. Well, you take that and you multiply that times, if you're paying a driver $25, $30 an hour, you have thousands of drivers and you're saving them, even minutes a day. That's lots of money at the end of the day. So I took that when I left there, I took that into my real estate business, said, okay, well, as most of you know, real estate can be a very paper intensive, it's not difficult to do, but there's just a lot of moving parts to it. So what I tried to do years ago is I tried to get a tablet that spun that you could write on, turned around, and I tried to put all my business on that. And then when the iPad came out, it was like an aha moment. It was like, wow, this is exactly what I need to put everything I need in the palm of my hands when I need it. So I was probably the first to really adopt putting everything, my education, all my forms, you name it, everything on the iPad. So to this day, I run my entire business in the palm of my hands.
Yes.
So,
Yes. You know, I just want to go back real quick, because I want to make sure I properly introduce you for the one or two people that may watch this that don't really know who you are. You know, you've been around doing investing for years. I mean, like I said, I remember, you know, some 10 odd or even more years ago when you were teaching, you know, how to use the iPad and just, you know, speaking in, you know, in general about real estate investing. I learned a ton of stuff from you. I mean, I probably have notebooks of notes that I took from you years ago. You know, when I was the little fly on the wall back in the day when nobody even recognized who I was. You know, so for that, I want to, you know, definitely take my hat off to say thank you for sticking around. You know, there have been many people, you know, have come and gone that that, you know, they had something to contribute but didn't stick around, you know. So I want to say, first of all, thank you for being a man and being a man of the business and an educator in many different ways, to help us, you know. And I know we're going to talk about, you know, some of what we're going to be dealing with in terms of what the market is going to change into.
yep.
You know, and I definitely want to thank you for being a sounding voice, you know, for those of us that, you know, I was around in the last crash, so I survived, I guess I'll say. But I know you thrived in many ways, you know, in those times, you know. And you know, we'll get a chance to talk a little bit more about that. But I just want to give a little bit of context to the folks that may watch and, you know, don't really know who Don DeRosa is. And if you know, me being who I am, you know, the in the little corner of Atlanta real estate investing, I think I do okay. But you are a national monument in the real world of real estate investing. So again, I want to make sure I properly introduce you to the folks who may not understand who you are.
Well, I appreciate
If
that.
I missed anything, you know, please tell me.
No, that was very gracious. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I love this business. I mean, I like teaching people. Well, you remember grade school? They used to. Well, I don't know how old you are, but you're much younger than me. But in grade
Probably
school, when I
two or
was
three
going
years
through, they
younger.
made you take these aptitude tests, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And you know, in today's standards, they don't like you to do that because it kind of pigeonholes someone or labels them, as they say, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
Well, back then they told you that, hey, you're based on your aptitude, you were going to be this or that, or, you know. And when I took mine, I was they said back then, a carpenter and a teacher were some of my professions, and they had some others as well. But, and it's funny because I look back on that now and I go, I didn't want to be a teacher because they don't make enough money.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be a carpenter because, although I do like working with my hands, they don't make enough money, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's funny because now I do both.
Exactly.
And sort of, right? I do educate. I love to educate people. We have a PPG group, which you're familiar with, Property Protege Group, where we have group coaching. And I tell these folks all the time, I'm like, you know what? A lot of you, I think I want you to be more successful than you do. So I have a very passionate about education. So I like that. I do exactly what I teach, meaning there's a lot of educators out there that they educate, but they don't really do the business. And I'm quite the opposite. I do both.
Let's get into that a little bit, because that is quite interesting. You know, I know many people are of the philosophy that, you know, those that can't do teach.
Yep. Yep.
So tell me, what are your thoughts on you know, the educators, or we'll call them, as many people call them, the gurus out there. What are your thoughts on I mean, like, what are you seeing in the market as far as educators and the direction that they're showing people to go? I mean, do you find that it's are people being led astray, or I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think everybody wants education. I think education is the key to this business.
Definitely.
The more you know, the more money you will make. But again, I will also say not all education is created equal. Some people that educate you, like myself, I educate because I care and I really want to see you succeed. Other people educate you because they want you to pay them
Right.
for the education. Okay. And there's nothing wrong. Okay. And I guess I should get that out there. There's nothing wrong. I mean, if I've got information that I can sell, then that's capitalism, right?
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I know people, I've been around people in this business that says, look, if you want my time, you're going to have to pay me for it. I don't give my stuff away for free.
Right.
And I just think that's a very wrong approach. I think that's I can, and maybe it's because of how I grew up. Maybe it was, my values. I don't know exactly, but I went to a seminar years ago I've been in this business since 1997, 98. And my very first seminar, we called them boot camps. We still do to this day, but back then they were truly a boot camp. It was 5 days. And I can remember, I'm not going to repeat the person's name, but she was a guru. And I could barely spell real estate. That's how green I was.
Right.
And I was like everybody else. I was sucking up all the information. It was great. I didn't know what I didn't know. So everything was new for me. And so I went out and I want to say I just asked her a basic question like, what's a warranty deed or something basic. Looking back on it now, I know it was stupid. It was a stupid question, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And she turned to me, and I'll never forget this. She turned to me and she said, see that course material over there? If you go buy that course material, and it was like $200, you can come over here and you can ask me any question you want, but I don't just answer questions. And I thought to myself, wow.
Yeah.
I said, thank you very much. And I walked away and I never looked back since, because I was like, you know what, if I ever get into a position where I am in her shoes, I will never do that with anybody. And this goes for anybody listening out there. You guys can, I give people 30-minute free consultations all the time. Just to get them started. I don't charge them anything. In fact, if you're interested in learning about that, just go. You get to put yourself on my calendar. Now I control my calendar, but you can put yourself on my calendar and I can give you, I can talk to you for 30 minutes and say, here's what I think you should learn based on your goals. So I do think education, there's lots of people out there that are educators, some obviously better than others. So let me answer your question. Some better than others, some more passionate than others. But if you're in the realm for getting education, just ask around. Find out what their success rate is and so on and so forth.
And you share some great stuff. And, I think there is, as you mentioned, there's quite a bit that separates the educators from the just the people that say, give me your money type of people. And again, you made a great point as well. Those for the time that we've been doing what we're doing, there's quite a bit of value that's been created in that, in terms of what we've learned and the mistakes that we've made and the things that we've been able to accomplish in what we do. So that in of itself brings about a certain amount of value. Right. So that value is something that is what the people that would pay to learn from us would invest in. But you said something that many times people don't appreciate, like, for example, just doing a show like this. There's several podcasts and several YouTube videos that many people will go and watch and learn. But to have access to someone like yourself for 30 minutes with a Don DeRosa is worth, probably, what people don't understand, is worth thousands of dollars. And you'd offer something like that at no cost. So I certainly want to give you an opportunity, once we get into it a little bit more, is to share with the folks how they can reach out to you if they want to take advantage of that. And of course, like you said, they're gonna have to get on your calendar because that time has to be scheduled, and they have to, if they're not investing in the time, they at least have to appreciate the value of the time that you'll be putting in to do that.
Yeah, I don't let just anybody on my calendar. You have to schedule it.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
But it's open to anybody. And a lot of times, a lot of times people won't even give you their cell phone number. I don't have a problem giving my cell phone number out to anybody because, again, it's how I was brought up. But my father always told me, he's like, you are no better or no worse than anybody else. You put your pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. So there's nobody that you meet that's any better than you or any worse than you. And you're no better or any worse than anybody else.
Wow.
So we're all just trying to make our way through this as best we can.
Good stuff.
And that's how that's my approach.
So let's get into it a little bit. By making our way through this, what do you see? Like we're in a world of like erratic change is about to take place. Actually is taking place.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So what do you say is, what are some of your predictions as a result of the market shift? And kind of what they would be in terms of like how they were similar. I know we're dealing with the pandemic now as opposed to what happened in 2008. Yep. But are there any similarities from then and now? And what are some of your predictions or what's yet to come, as a result of all of this?
Well, it's difficult to predict because we're in a different time than 2008. 2008 was unique in a sense that it was the banks that were failing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It was very poorly constructed loan products. And they were their own worst enemy, and they created this, right? They were just substandard loans. What it created, though, was it created a meltdown from the financial industries from the inside out. And the benefit, though, what helped us was the ability to drop interest rates and spread this out. So if you look at pre-2008, you would be hard pressed to get any lender to do any kind of modification. As well as I do, back in 2000, prior to 2008, if you even my first course that I ever put together was on short sales, right? Mm-hmm. And this was way back in 2000. And my forte, where I made a lot of money, was I would go in and I would short sale second mortgages.
Wow.
And take over first mortgages subject to. So my ideal seller would be someone that had a first, let's just say it was worth 150. They had a first of 100 and a second of 50 or 40, right? Mm-hmm. So you add those two together and it's almost over leveraged. So nobody wanted that product. Definitely. Nobody wanted that house. So my job would be, I would find the first that's in foreclosure or about to be in foreclosure. And then I would put it under contract, and then I would negotiate the second down to 10 cents on the dollar. Okay. So I would do a lot of short sales. And back then you would try to get a bank to do a modification or change all that. They didn't want to have anything to do with that. They're like, nope, we have no interest in modifying any of the paperwork.
Right.
But when 2008 hit, that changed everything that we know it, because now there's more modifications done than we've ever had in the history.
Definitely. Yeah.
And that's about to change again, because now you're going to have modifications, but more importantly, you're going to have what we've already seen it. They've already started forbearances.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
Okay. So now you're going to see people that are behind on mortgages now, because think about what's happened. So 2008 was a disaster. Everybody lost their stuff, right?
Yeah.
Then they got back on their feet, and then we've been in a seller's market now for the better part of a decade.
Right.
Well, what happens when you're in a seller's market? People refinance their property, they pull out all their equity, they get these super low interest rates, 3-4%. Well, they don't have a lot of equity in their property because they've pulled it all out.
Right.
Okay. They've refinanced their properties, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in a wholesaling business, or if you're wholesaling, the way that works, the way you make money is you buy something under 70 cents on the dollar, and then you sell it to somebody that's interested. You find a bargain, and you find someone that's interested in buying that bargain from you. Well, most times it's a cash transaction, and it's got to be less than 70% of the value for you to make any kind of money. Well, that's going to change a little bit, because all of these homes are going to be over 70% loan to value ratio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now you got a whole, I mean, in the last week alone, I've had friends, and not so much family, but friends of mine call me and go, and they're all my son's age or a little bit older, that he went to school with. They're all new homeowners.
Wow.
And they're like, okay, what do I do? If I can't make my mortgage payment, what do I do? You know, I got this 90% loan,
Mm.
you know, or 95% loan. What do I do? So I think what you're going to see, and again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I've been through this several times. You have to look at the environment that we're in. Number one, divorce filings have increased 300% in the 3 to 5 weeks we've been here.
Wow.
Okay. The inquiries, right? Now, that doesn't mean people are getting divorced, but the filings, because everything's being done now electronically, the filings are up. Okay. So, and that can be explained by people having cabin fever,
Yeah.
pent up,
Yeah.
right? You know?
And not having a separate room like you do.
Yeah, exactly. So you have that. Then you have all the new folks that are dual incomes, but are out there in the communities that they can't work right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's no income. Now, banks are allowing, and this is the part that people tend to be selective in their hearing and how they understand it. You know, the government has come out and they said, we're going to forbear, we're going to hold off on evictions.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hold off on foreclosures. Okay. But nobody really pays attention to that. And what they were referring to is any government loan, any government backed security, or any government backed program, they're going to hold off on that. But there are so many other lenders out there. There are so many other landlords out there that don't have Section 8 tenants in it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a Section 8 tenant, I can't evict them. Okay. I can't put if they don't make payments or they tear up the place, I can't evict them, because the government has told me that. But what they haven't told you, or they have, but people haven't listened to, is foreclosures, for example, in the state of Georgia, they're not federally mandated. They are state mandated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the federal government can say, we're putting a moratorium on all federally backed loans from being foreclosed upon. Okay. That just means Freddie and Fannie, they just won't pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the Bank of Americas of the world? What about the Citibanks? What about all these privately held companies that, right now they're being shamed into complying?
Yeah.
Which is the right thing to do. I mean, it is the right thing to do. These people have no control over this. But that's going to change. When we're allowed to go out again, everyone thinks, okay, we're going to go back to normal. It's not going to be normal. You're not going to have the same. I mean, people right now are getting deeper. We had this stimulus of $1,200. Well, guess what? If you made over $100,000, you didn't get it. If you were in certain segments, you didn't get it. But even now, they're still saying that $1,200 or that $2 trillion that they put out there isn't even remotely close to enough. And I agree. I mean, how far does $1,200 take you nowadays?
Exactly.
Seriously. How far would for me, I'm pretty frugal. I don't live in a big fancy home. I don't drive big fancy vehicles, and still $1,200 wouldn't get me very far.
True.
So you're looking at So I'm just painting the picture of the landscape right now of what's out there. You've got bankruptcies are going to go up. Foreclosures are going to naturally go up because people just simply can't afford it, and they can't recover fast enough. Landlords are going to, burned out landlords, because think about it. Tenants don't pay. We have a landlord that now he decided one day he wanted to be a landlord. So now he has his house payment and he has a house payment for a house that he bought, but he's not really in our business. He's just a wannabe landlord. Well, guess what? There are so many of those types of people out there that when they get one little bump in the road and the tenant doesn't pay them, they can't afford 2 payments.
True. Definitely.
So we're not seeing all of this right now because everybody right now, in my opinion, is just holding their breath. They're just waiting to exhale. They're just waiting. I mean, we know there's a problem, but we don't really feel there's a problem. That's kind of the attitude. So what that's going to create is that's going to create an enormous amount of opportunity to 2 things: to help people get out of their circumstance, and B, create an opportunity for us, as long as we understand how to position ourselves in that environment. So I'm not going to say the days of wholesaling are gone, because that's simply not true. But how we look at a deal may be a little more. I mean, back in 2008, I always say this: people jump into this business when they should be jumping out, and people jump in when they should be jumping out, and they jump out when they should be jumping in. This is a time period, in my opinion. This is a time period, in my opinion, where we should be getting flocks of people learning how to buy real estate right now.
Definitely. I agree.
But what you're going to find people jumping out. And that's simply because they're looking at it from one perspective. They're looking at it from a cash perspective or a lending perspective. Meaning, I got to go down to the bank, and if the bank's not lending, I can't buy real estate. That's simply not true at all. Absolutely. I can tell you I've bought hundreds of properties and never once I've gone to the bank, to traditional bank, I think maybe twice in my real estate career, and I've bought hundreds of properties.
Wow. I don't think I've ever gone to the traditional bank.
Well, my own personal home.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it, I think. I think that's the only one. Just because, so what the person who survives this, or I shouldn't say survives, thrives is a better word, is someone that can understand how to seek out the problem that the homeowner is having and be a problem solution, a solver. And that only comes from asking the right questions.
And that's like, I mean, you gave us a great deal of information. I'm looking at my questions. I'm like, I think he answered all of them already. But listen, that's how thorough you are in your teaching, man. And I appreciate that. I just look at this. I mean, as you described it, as an opportunity that many people won't get. And you said something also that's really, really great, that people need to understand, that there are times when people that are jumping out need to be jumping in. And then there's going to be, like, for what I see, as the people that are going to be jumping out now are the ones who did not experience the first market crash.
Yes.
Those ones that did not experience that don't have the knowledge of how to, as you said, survive and thrive.
Yes.
In this turnaround, because they only know all of the good times. Right. And that's how it was for me. I'll be honest, prior to, I mean, I'll say from 2002 to 2008. I mean, I got in 98 as well, so I was kind of the let me buy one and see how it works, and buy one and see how it works kind of guy. And then I got around, folks like yourself and other people that were really educating at the time. And I was able to then start taking off. But from that time of, I'll say about 2002 to 2008, it was, I dare use this word, but I'll say, and this is probably what some of the people that have been experiencing this for the last couple of years, it was easy for me. It was easy because money was readily available. There were tons of situations that people were in that they didn't know how to do, anything with their house, so there were many opportunities available. So it was kind of a free fall, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when that market shifted, what happened to me is I had a ton of money. I had like 18 properties. I sold them all up to 2008. So I had a ton of cash, but I didn't have the knowledge and experience at that time, which some people will now not have. I didn't have the knowledge and experience at that time of what to do with all this money. I should have been, like, I'm sure you and probably several other people that had the knowledge and experience at the time. I should have taken that cash and went back in and invested and held on to some of those properties, and then kind of, maybe sold them off, when the market got better. But I think what's going to happen now for those people who did not experience that before, those are going to be the ones that probably will begin to start running quicker than anybody, because
Yes.
this is an adversity that they didn't experience before.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like you said, education and knowing how, and those people that didn't experience that, they have a one-track idea of how to solve people's problems. And how you described it, I believe the short sale rate is going to go through the roof, but many people don't know how to do short sales.
I think short sales are going to be the go-to, because think about this. Back in the day, back in 2008, 2009, banks or the Fed, they reduced interest rates and banks did the whole modification to, it's kind of like the coronavirus now with the bell curve, right? Mm-hmm. They're trying to get everybody to stay home to keep that big flood of people so that they don't collapse.
Right.
Well, the banks did something very similar to that in 2008, 2009, and they did that through the modification process. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the modification was the right tool because you had all these people that had really crappy loans. Mm-hmm. So they modified the terms of the loan. That made sense. Well, in today's world, we don't have those crappy loans. So a modification in its basic form doesn't make sense for them.
True.
A forbearance, taking the payments that were behind and putting them on the back end, that makes sense. So you're going to see a lot of forbearance. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you're also going to see a lot of short sales that people go, okay, the young folks that just bought their house that can't now afford it, mm-hmm. They got their FHA loan, they can't afford it, they're not making enough income. Maybe they both got furloughed and only one of them are back to work now. Well, they bought that house based on two incomes.
Right. Yeah.
And they just simply can't afford it. You're going to see, right now, look at unemployment. Unemployment went from the highest it's ever been was 1982 at 650,000.
Right. Yeah.
2 weeks ago, it was 3 million. Last week, it was 6 million. And I haven't seen numbers this week. Have you?
I think it's up to 10 million now.
Okay. So we're essentially doubling unemployment week by week.
Yes.
Now, that is a very false number because a lot of businesses aren't able to be in business. So when people start to go out and start to go move again, a lot of those jobs will come back.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there will be a lot that won't, because think about people's spending habits right now. Now, what does that mean? Spending habits. I personally took a list. There's so many things that I get billed every month, mm-hmm. that it's a nuisance bill.
Yes.
I haven't watched a DVD in probably 10 years, but I am a Netflix subscriber on both services, meaning I have the DVD service and I have the streaming service.
Wow.
Right? Well, it's a difference of $5 or $6 per month. But up until this point, I'm like, whatever, it's too much of a hassle to cancel it. Well,
No, right.
I went
That's what
through
they count
all
on.
of I went through all of mine and said, okay, well, I don't need this. I don't need that. I mean, like my kids watch Hulu. I don't watch Hulu, but when I did, I hated the commercials. So I upgraded the version where I got rid of the commercials. Well,
Right.
now I went back and said, hey, do you guys still watch Hulu? They said, yes. Well, I got rid of that part of it, and their ass is watching commercials now. Okay. But my point is, you're going to see a lot of people, this is going to force different spending habits for people. And they're not going to go readily back and go, okay, well, now that this is over, now let's go back and have those same services. You know, like for me, I'll give you another example. I have 3 people that I pay to go to the gym every month at $25 a piece.
Wow.
Dude, 2 of those people never see the gym. But I've continually paid that because
just in case they go, huh?
yeah, just in case, right? I'm not going to say whether it's me or whether it's my other family members, but
Right.
but anyway, so now I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what, let's cancel them.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a lot of that. Now, you're going to hear, by listening to me talk, you're going to go, oh my God, it's doom and gloom. No, it's not. People are going to get back on their feet as they always do.
Right.
But what it's going to do is it's going to change how people interact with real estate.
Right. Right.
Going to create, one of the reasons, like subject to is, if you don't know what that is, it's where somebody literally gives you the deed to their home and you take over their payments.
Yes.
That is going to be a huge technique for people to understand.
Right.
You're going to be able to help people by taking over their loan subject to. You're going to be able to help people by doing wraparound mortgages and understanding wraparound mortgages. You're going to be able to help people by doing sandwich lease options when you didn't be able, so people wouldn't even consider that before, because there has to be a true motivation. So if you don't mind, can I put something up on the screen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead and go ahead and show off your technology.
It's very simple. It's very simple.
No, good stuff though. This is good stuff.
Hold on.
And listen, again, I want to make sure I get folks to understand who you are and what you're doing. I mean, you are an educator, at heart, and I know that. And I definitely, again, I appreciate that. So you're sharing what you're sharing is something that's really significant, because some of the folks that'll watch this, I'm sure they'll get great value out of it. Because some people have, like when you mentioned subject to, some people that'll watch this have no clue of what that is. So please, definitely, please feel free to share.
So I'm gonna switch this right here for now. Think about most people nowadays that get into this business, they're all about the cash transaction. It's all about the cash transaction. How much, and it's a simple math. How much can I buy it for? How much can I sell it for? And how much do I make? It's a simple profit. Income versus expense equals profit, right?
Right.
Well, in this field going forward, most people go, how much money can I make? Does the property have equity in the property? And going forward, you're not going to, first, the most important thing you can do from now on is collect what we call the 20 questions. And that's questions that, how much do you owe? What's your house worth? What's your payment? What's your interest rate? Why are you selling? Understanding what the collection of information is far greater than, do you have enough equity in this property at this point?
Right.
And then you need to determine what we call the motivation of it. Do they have a want versus a need? And people nowadays, we went from a seller's market into, we've been transitioning. So we were in a very deep seller's market. People could rehab however they wanted. They didn't matter. They could put lipstick on a pig and they would get top dollar for their house, and it would sell in a matter of hours, because the limited inventory was so small that there was such competition. Well, then over the course of, the last year, probably it's been gradually moving into more of a transitional market, more of a buyer's market. We haven't hit a true buyer's market yet, but it's been transitioning, been flattening out. I mean, have you seen that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Days on the market are a lot longer. Yeah.
yeah, so it's been transitioning, which is normal because the selling cycle goes like this in real estate constantly, right?
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
But this pandemic has put us now into a deep, it will, when everybody exhales and starts moving again, it will put us into a deep buyer's market. And
Mm-hmm.
what that means is there's going to be so much inventory out there that people are going to have fighting for, sellers are going to be begging people to buy their houses.
Mm.
So you're going to have, so the more information, take the first step, the more information you have. And then if you're, as long as you're dealing with a person that is a need to sell, not a want to sell, then and only then, in my opinion, do you even care if there's equity in the property?
Mm.
Because if you don't have the first two steps, all else fails.
True.
And then once you find out, then you make the appointment. Don't waste your time on a lot of that stuff, right? I mean, that's the key element in that, is what you're going to be facing with. So how do we do that? What should we, I mean, we're quarantined right now. Someone said till the middle of May now. I don't know. My wife said that. I didn't hear that. But what should we be learning? What should we be learning now? What should we be performing now? Well, you should be talking to sellers. Pick up the phone, get a script. Okay. There's a script. I'll see if I can put it up on the screen, but I have a script that you can download very easily. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. And it's really simple. I don't ask you to collect anything. It's not like I'm collecting any information, any of that stuff. Yes. So if you go to property or ppgcoaching.com, ppgcoaching.com, let's see if I can put that up on the screen here. Go to ppgcoaching.com and you'll see over here where it says more, and there's free downloads. Click on the seller information sheet to download it. Again, this is me just giving you stuff. I'm going to give you a free purchase and sale agreement. I'll give you a free assignment agreement, free letter of intent. And I don't even collect your information. You don't even have to give me anything to get this.
Great.
Right?
Stuff.
This is just me being me. So go collect this. This will give you the basic script that you will need. And then pick up the phone and call Craigslist. Go to Craigslist, go to Zillow, get the phone numbers, call these people. Get used to talking to people on the phone and asking them the basic questions, because it's a very, very difficult thing if you've never done this before, getting someone on the phone and saying, hey, how much do you owe? What's your payment? How far behind are you? That's not a natural set of questions.
Right.
And people struggle with that. So now is the time to kind of get over that if you can, and make a bunch of mistakes, because people aren't really selling their houses right now. I mean, people aren't as motivated as they will be 6 months from now.
Right. Right.
So now is the time to be learning that. Now is the time to be learning how to buy a subject to property, what paperwork is required. Go online, learn. Okay. I have some stuff if you're interested, but do that. Go get as much. Now, before you just go out and if you're going to do it, don't just go to a YouTube video and watch a 10-minute video or a series of 10-minute videos all over the place that people were doing differently, because subject to is not it's the most powerful technique in real estate today, but it's not something that you want to take lightly.
Right.
Because you're really messing with someone's credit. And if you don't do it correctly and you don't have the right paperwork in place and you don't understand it, and it's a very simple process, but there is some steps you need to take to protect yourself and them, don't just go watch a 10-minute video and think you got it all. That's my point.
That's what a lot of folks do, though.
I mean, there's a lot of great, I mean, trust me, everything you see right here that I'm switching back and forth, I learned on YouTube.
Definitely. Yeah.
So it's a tremendous resource, but just make sure
some of
you
those
have the
things,
whole picture before you just start signing on the dotted line.
you made a great point. You know, some of those things that we learn in terms of education, you know, like for you know, especially what you're doing, some of those things are fixed things. And what I mean by that is that in what we do in real estate, what a lot of people don't realize is many things change. I mean, real estate can change day by day by day. You know, I mean, the type of wording you have to put into a document to make the transaction go smoothly, that can change day by day by day in many cases. And I think a lot of times people go and watch YouTube videos, and you know, some of them are, you know, 5, 6, or 7 years old, and some of those things are not applicable to what the business is done today.
Yeah, but also you don't know where that thing, you don't know where that person, you don't know, number one, you don't know that person's experience.
Yes.
So they could be, I mean, they could be touting themselves as a guru and they've never even done their first deal.
You know, the other thing about YouTube is that you can watch a YouTube video and create a YouTube video.
Yeah. I mean, when I first got started in this business years ago, I went to a seminar and I was a student at the seminar, and I went to lunch afterwards and met a guy. Now he's since been gone. He's no longer in this business, but he went out and he did options, meaning he took an option on a property, on a high-end property, and made a lot of money at this, doing an auction on that property. All right. One deal. And somebody walked him through it. And then the following month, less than a month later, he had a course out and he was on stage on, you know, teaching people how to do this technique. So my point in all this is be careful. I mean, the education is wonderful, and the more you know, the more you will make. But not all education is created equal, and it's very specific to your state.
Definitely, absolutely. That is something that, you know, people don't get as well. So you're absolutely right.
So if you buy a subject to here in Atlanta or Georgia versus North Carolina or versus California or versus Texas, different techniques play out differently based on state law there.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I want to acknowledge a few folks that have joined us. Then we have a question from the audience, and I definitely want to get the people that are watching. I mean, and there's some new people on that are watching that at least I haven't seen before. So if you have questions, please feel free to go ahead and put your questions in. You know, we want to try and get those addressed as well. This is interactive. So if you guys have questions or comments or anything that you want us to address, please go ahead and put those in. We have Mr. Rui Beato. How you doing, sir? Thank you for joining us.
Rui.
And we have Dustin. Dustin's on with us as well. Dustin Griffin. Shout out to Dustin. And Atlanta Rhea. Definitely check that out. We have Mr. Ed Felder. Mr. Felder, we definitely have to talk today. Then we have Donna Bellamy. Donna Bellamy says, I've done subject to 2 to 3 times and have been profitable. My interest now is multifamily. How do I incorporate that strategy for buying and wholesaling those type properties? Okay, that's one question. And then she says, also, I'm using wholesaling as a means to build cash. You said we should be wholesaling differently. Can you expound on that? I guess that's what she said. So
okay.
I guess the initial question is, how does she use subject to, let me make sure I ask this correctly, the subject to strategy for buying and wholesaling multifamily properties?
Okay. Subject to, you can do a business, you can do commercial property subject to. Subject to is just how the paperwork flows and who's paying the note, right?
Absolutely.
So it could be a single family home that's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath that has a $50,000 note on it, or it can be a commercial building that has a $500,000 note on it. It's the paperwork behind it. So don't get confused with subject to with, you know, single family home versus multifamily home. So like you can buy a duplex or a triplex or a quad subject to. I bought a business one time years ago. It was a warehouse subject to. And all you're doing is they're conveying the title to you, and you're just making the payments to the bank on their behalf. Okay. The behind that is the crux of that is you don't have to go down and qualify at the bank for that financing. So you just use that financing. So I'm going to use Glenn as an example. He has a house that he owes $100,000 on, and his payment's $1,000. Well, right now he's okay, but let's say he loses his job. He gets 3 months behind. He gets his job back or gets a job back, but he's not making enough to make up the $3,000 back payments. And the bank, for example, may not want to do a forbearance on that. Right? So he's stuck. So now what I would say is, and again, this is probably the most powerful technique there is out there in real estate. So my offer to him would be simple. It would be, the only way I can buy your house is if I can, well, I'd make him 3 offers, but let's just stick with the subject to offer. I would say, you're going to have to the only way I could buy this is if you convey the title to me, and we're going to utilize that existing financing temporarily. So what that means is he would give me the title, give me the deed. The deed would be in my name because that's what's ownership. And then I would simply take his coupon book or his statement or online, and I would pay that $3,000. I would reinstate that. That loan is still in his name, but the title of the property is in my name. So the title is what matters. The title is the ownership. The bank or the lien is a lien. That's the financial part of it, right? So when he conveys the title to me, the deed gets put in my name, but the loan paperwork still stays in his name. So it still remains on his credit report. It's still on his credit report. He's still financially responsible for it, but I'm paying it on his behalf. Now, some of you, when I say that, some of you are saying, well, why would somebody do that? There's 2 questions that usually crop up, right? There's 2 questions. Why would somebody do that? And 2, isn't the bank against that? Isn't there a due on sale clause on that? And to answer your first question, it comes down to that graphic I put on there before. If you ask the right questions, the second question is, how motivated are they? Definitely. The more motivated they are, I mean, think about this. They're about to lose this house anyways. So if you can give them, let's say I give him $3,000 on top of, he has some equity in the house, and I give him $3,000 on top of the $3,000 I got to bring current. So I got to bring $6,000 to the table. That makes sense? Well, if he gets foreclosed on, he gets 0. Now, people always tell me, they say, why didn't you just list it? Well, if you're in a buyer's market and there's so many houses out there, people fighting for, it could take months for a house to even get a look. Right. Okay. So it all comes down to motivation. So to answer your question, the best way I can is when you're looking at this, and I think this is a couple-part question, and correct me if I got this wrong, but you can do anything subject to as long as you have a willing participant in the seller. If they're willing to convey the title to you in exchange for something, whether it be you take over their payments and give them some money, take over their payments and partner with them, take over their payments and do something else, there's all kinds of ways you can structure that. Okay. The key to this thing, though, is using the underlying financing so that you don't have to go get $100,000. Because if I have to go find a private lender to give me $6,000, it's much easier to find a private lender to give me $6,000 than it is to find a private lender to give me 100 or 105. Right. Right. So it comes in there's a financial tool there too. And the second part of that is, any of you that think that you got to have a bunch of cash in the bank so you can buy and hold stuff and be a landlord and get out of the rat race. None of that is true. None of that is true. Yeah, it helps if you have money, but you don't have to. You don't have to have big boatloads of cash, because if you learn how to take over something subject to, well, let's say Glenn's, his payment is $1,000. Well, I can rent this for $1,400, same house. Well, I give him $3,000. He goes away. I own the property now. My payment is $1,000. I rent this out now for $1,400. And then when you as the tenant pay me, I take the $400, put it in my bank account, and I take the $1,000 and I pay his mortgage. I've just now, for $3,000, I've just now acquired a $150,000 house in suburbia Atlanta, outside of the city, in a great area.
Great stuff. Actually, you answered so many questions that I was going to bring up. But one thing that I guess the second part to Donna's question was, she said, you mentioned that we should be wholesaling as a means to build cash. Of course, that's what we should have always been doing. But she said you should be wholesaling differently. What would you say? I mean, of course, the market's changing. What should wholesaling look like now?
Well, I don't think wholesaling is going to look different. I mean, I think the basic premise behind a wholesale is you buy super cheap and you sell it at a discount, right? You sell it a little bit higher so that someone can make the majority of the profit. I think the end buyer is really going to be the dictator in this. Is who are you selling to?
Absolutely.
I think your customer changes. Because
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I said your customer changes because it goes back to the statement where I said people who should be jumping in are now going to be jumping out, and vice versa. Yes. People who went to a seminar 2 weeks ago and thought they wanted to buy, fix, and flip was going to be the greatest thing, and now they look at the economy and they're going to be jumping out of the wholesale, or jumping out of the real estate business, when they really should be jumping in. But that's going to be the case. We saw that. I've seen that in 2 different market cycles now. So you're going to see that. So as a wholesaler, your customer is going to change slightly. You're still going to have the hedge funds of the world that can buy. You're still going to have people like me that have the cash that can buy, Glenn that can buy, right? You're still going to have those people, but your list may be much smaller, but much more qualified.
So can you you said another great thing. Now you said that are much more qualified. I think that's a part of what is going to be a significant change in wholesaling now. Those people who do not have, like the days of putting a bandit sign out saying I'm a cash buyer, call me. I think it may work, but can you expound a little bit more on what it means to qualify your buyer?
Well, yes, because you have to look at the 2 markets there's a buyer's market. Well, there's really 3. There's a transition in there, but there's a seller's market and there's a buyer's market. The difference between a seller's market means inventory is low. There's a lot of buyers out there, but not a lot of product. It's a supply and demand.
Right.
Okay. So you have, in a seller's market, you have very few properties, inventory is really low, and you have a lot of people, it's a feeding frenzy trying to get. So they're willing to pay more for that property.
Yes.
So your skill level when wholesaling doesn't have to be that good, or not just wholesaling, just in general, when selling in general, because the inventory is so low, people are willing to pay a premium, more than a premium, just to be in the game. And that's what we've seen. And then it kind of transitions and slowly transitions into a buyer's market. And when you're in a buyer's market, now you've got, if you're a buyer, there is no more feeding frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
You have the pick of the litter. Now you can pick and choose which one you want. So someone that has cash can now pick and go, yeah, I don't like your rehab, or I don't like your deal. I want this deal. Or I personally am going to go and say, will you own or finance it to me?
Mm-hmm.
I will get 100 times more deals by asking for owner finance in a market like that, because people have no other place to turn. It's either give it back to the bank or foreclose or sell it this way. What's your choice? And I think you're going to see a lot of that. So from a wholesale, I don't think wholesaling will never go anywhere. Wholesale, you will always be able to wholesale. It's just who your customer is.
Great stuff. Great stuff. We have Tarita Ragland Hamilton. First of all, I want to say hello to Georgette Black. Hello, Georgette. She says she's here. Thank you for joining us, Georgette. Tarita says, can I wholesale subject to, and do I need an attorney to draw up the contract?
Okay, great question. Being in an open forum like this, I would tell you, you probably should never wholesale a subject to transaction if you don't trust the person you're wholesaling it to 110%. Because, all right, think about the basic. Subject to is by far the most powerful technique you will ever learn in real estate. It comes with the greatest upside, but also the greatest responsibility of all the techniques. Because when you sit down with the homeowner, because remember, you're the one putting this under contract. You're the investor that's talking to the homeowner. You are literally convincing the homeowner to put their life, their credit rating, their everything in the palm of your hands. And when they say yes to you, they are basically putting their faith in you that you're going to do the right thing. Okay. Now, with that being said, if you are just wholesaling like a lot of these daisy chain wholesalers do, where they put it under contract and they flip it to somebody else and they don't really care about the seller, because it's no harm, no foul. It's a cash transaction. Everybody's out, in and out in no time. But on a subject to transaction, this is more of a longevity type. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. Yes, you can flip these. Yes, you can rehab these. But you have to look at the underlying, because if you miss one payment, it goes on their credit report as a missed payment.
Mm-hmm.
The upside to that, where you sell this to the homeowner, is your credit right now is crap. But by giving it to us, allowing us to utilize that financing, every month we make that payment, guess what happens to your credit? Because the loan's still in your name. It gets better. So there's caveats to all that. But the downside, the detriment to them, you could really destroy somebody if done incorrectly and done haphazardly. So if I take Glenn and I are sitting here, we're talking, we agree on, he's going to let me buy it subject to, right? I'm going to take over his payment of $1,000. I'm going to give him $3,000. I'm going to make his back payments up. And I put that on a purchase and sale agreement. And the answer to your second question is no, you don't have to have an attorney draw that up. You can draw that purchase and sale agreement up on your own. Okay. It doesn't have to be drawn up by an attorney. But if I take that purchase and sale agreement and I go and I sell it to, well, I sell it to Georgette. Well, Georgette wouldn't do this. She's probably the wrong example because she's stand up. But let's say I give it to somebody else that I don't know at all. And they can't afford this, and they don't really care, and they just skip payments here or there, and they don't make payments. The problem is going to come when Glenn looks at his credit report. He's going to be shocked that we totally effed up his credit. And the first thing he's going to come back to is he's going to be coming to me. So if he says, okay, this is enough, I've had enough of this, because once he conveys that deed to me, he can't get it back. He has to sue me.
Right. Right.
So if I sell or assign that subject to contract over to someone else that I don't know, and they're not an upstanding citizen like me, and they don't have any intention of making Glenn's payments if times get tough, all of a sudden now I don't own it. I'm out of it. He doesn't know. Glenn doesn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Glenn, if he says, okay, I got to get an attorney involved, the first person he's going to sue, or the first person he's going to put on the 5 o'clock news is me.
Right.
And I'm going to be like, wait a minute, I had nothing to do with this. I sold this to somebody else. Doesn't matter. You're still going to be stuck. You're still going to be socked in the middle of this thing if you're not careful. So are there ways to wholesale subject to? Yes. But you have to get, that's where good education comes in. That's where you have to learn that if I need to wholesale this, when I find my person I'm going to sell it to, I typically don't close until I find that person. Then I would go to Glenn and say, hey, Glenn, I've got to step out of this transaction. I'm going to give you to my partner, Steve here. He's going to be the one. So you're going to be dealing directly with him from now on. So I have to step out. So then I introduce Steve and Glenn and they exchange and then we close. So then all the paperwork's done between Glenn and Steve and I'm out. I get my assignment fee. I'm done. That is the only recommendation. That is the only way I would recommend anybody do this for any reason. And will you lose some deals because of that convolutedness? Maybe, but I'm telling you in the long run, it's worth it.
You know, I made that mistake of wholesaling a subject to. And I guess this is how, you know, just to give folks some context about this. And like you said, it has to be people that you trust. Now, I guess the mistake I made is that I did trust the person. But what I didn't follow up on was their knowledge of how to follow through. So I was wholesaled a subject to great property. You know, I had every intention of holding on to it, but I had someone come along and was interested in giving me a little more money for it. And I said, okay, I'll wholesale it to this person. And this person wasn't somebody who was, I guess, savvy or knowledgeable about the whole process. And I understood that. So I explained the whole process of how it was going to work. And their idea was they were going to put some work into it, refinance it. Okay. But like you said, you know, I'm thinking, okay, that's what you're going to do. That works the best. That pays off the loan. That pays off the loan for the person that sold it to the person that sold it to me and all that, you know, the whole line of people that were in that. And, you know, I took my eyes off of it.
Yep.
So, I mean, like you said, I'm not involved in it anymore. The person's going to refinance and never came back and asked me any questions because they were clear on what they were going to do. And I said, it works. And months later, I get, you know, a call from the original owner that says, make my mortgage payments. And I said, wait, what do you mean?
Yep. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, there is a solution to that. There is a solution to that, which is what I'm going to be talking about tonight at PPG. We always meet every Wednesday. But tonight I'm going to be talking about wraparound mortgages.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's take your same example that we've been dealing with. I buy your house subject to. You deed it over to me. I take it over subject to. And then I turn around and I find a buyer that's willing to pay me more, willing to do all this. So now rather than give it to him subject to or her, I now will sell it to that person on another form of owner financing called a wraparound mortgage.
Right.
So we would wrap that loan around the existing loan, Glenn's loan, and then this new loan. So for example, Glenn, I owe $100,000 on subject to, I bought. My payment's $1,000. I'm going to turn around and sell it to this person over here for $130. So the paperwork that's created by the attorney, and this would be created by an attorney.
Right.
The paperwork that's created shows a note and a security instrument paid to me, Don DeRosa, for $130,000 at $1,300 a month, or let's call it 14. Let's say I want to make $400 a month. So his payment to me would be $1,400. The note would be written for $130,000. He's going to give me 10 grand down. This is called a wraparound mortgage. So I wrap it around his underlying 100. So now I'll call you Joe. Joe pays me he pays me 10 grand up front. He pays me $1,400 a month. And I can put a balloon on it of 5 years or so, or whatever, that he's got to refinance this property out. So it's not going to stay in Glenn's name forever and ever and ever. The most it would be 5 years before he has to refinance it up. Okay. Or whatever the terms are. So now I got $10,000 up front. So I paid him 3. So what's my net? I got 7 grand. So I put $7,000 in my pocket, same as Glenn's wholesale deal, but now he stays in control as opposed to letting control somebody else. So if Steve, for example, doesn't pay me $1,400 that month, I'm notified because I'm waiting for his payment. And now I still can make that $1,000 a month payment to the bank, even though Steve hasn't paid me his $1,400.
Right.
Or if I can't, for some reason, let's say something, God forbid, happened to me, at least it gives me my ability to call the homeowner and say, or the seller, hey, I ran into a problem. I'm short this month. What do you want me to do? How do you want me to handle that? It is far better to say that and have that problem than to have somebody come back to you a month or 2 or 6 months later and go, listen, scumbag, you just destroyed my credit. And so, I mean, I use subject to and wraparound mortgages as a financial tool. I don't use it as a way to not make someone's payments and to get control. No, it is by far you have the most responsibility using that technique.
In that, and I want you actually said something, and I don't think people would have gathered it from what you said, but you said you'd get a notification if they did make that payment. So that means you would have a servicer that,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you have someone to service that loan. That way you get notification immediately if that payment is not made on whatever date you set for it to notify you.
Yes. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind, I'm going to throw it up. Do you mind if I throw this up there?
No. As a matter of fact, I wanted to go ahead and tell you about, go ahead and telling people what you got going on. Cause I know you're giving so much great information, man. And somebody said you're giving away gold. I just wanted to let you go. We're a little over our time, but, I do want to, give you an opportunity to share with the folks what you got going on. Especially about PPG and everything you got going on as far as the different classes that you have.
Well, I got a couple things, if you don't mind. Give me a second.
Absolutely.
We've got a creative deal structuring. So we do a seminar almost every month. And this month we have scheduled creative deal structuring. We call it CDS. It's where we go in and we teach you how to be a creative deal structurer, how to do wraparound mortgage, how to do lease with options to purchase, how to do subject to. Okay. It's more of an overview to understand the paperwork. And then we'll show you how to create the deals themselves. Right. And now this is normally an in-person, and I usually go full 8. Usually I start at 9 and go till 5 or 6 normally. I'm not quite sure how people's butts are going to endure sitting in front of a computer screen for that long. So it's going to be somewhat of a modification as to the normal live event, but it's going to be pretty full. Okay. So if you're interested, I don't have a link for this, but I'm just going to send you over to the Atlanta RIA website. And I would assume I don't know if Dustin's still on, but I'm assuming he'll have something linked up there to sign up for this. If he doesn't right away, he will shortly. I don't even know what the cost is. I just do the content. He does all the rest, right? You know, I'm the person that stands up front. He handles all the rest of that. So I don't know what it costs. I don't know, you know, it's online obviously, but it's creative deal structuring. And then next month, we're going to be teaching you all the ins and outs of subject to, how to prepare you for this onslaught of all the stuff coming. So the other thing that I will share with you is we do what's called Property Protege Group. That is a weekly group coaching thing that people pay to attend every week. We usually do it live, and you get lots of stuff with that. And what I would have you do is go to the PPG. Let's see if I put that up there. Just go to this site right here, ppgcoaching.com, and check it out. What you get, we spend a whole year with you. And we're also offering good pricing right now, obviously for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. But we spend a whole year with you. We do every Monday, we do a coaching call on, you know, we spend every Wednesday with you. You get 18, 19 different home study courses, which is what, let's see if I can pull this down and show you. Whoops. This is some of the courses that you will get in the PPG coaching. That's all included. And by the way, if you can't do that, I sell all of these for $4.99 for all of these. There's 19 of them. Or you can go on here and buy one at a time if you want. That's old pricing. That was Christmas pricing, believe it or not. It still even says holiday special up there. And I meant to take it down weeks ago, but since this pandemic, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Just leave it up there. Yeah. So I haven't. Normally these are.
What site is this again?
This site right here is htrei.com. So if they want to buy a course, they can go there. And we have all kinds of courses. We have subject to courses, creative deal structuring. There's a time management. There's a subject to right there. Due diligence. There's a course for just about everything. So if you want to go check it out, htrei.com. It's great pricing right now. It's a great time to take advantage of it. But htrei.com. So if you want to put a link, if you want to put a way for them to buy it through you, that's fine.
Okay. Either way,
we didn't really have a chance to talk about this, so I hope that's okay.
No, this is good. This is good. HTRE. Hold on. HTREI.com. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
And then, like, if this is the website to go to check out PPG if you're interested. Lots of reviews. We have great reviews.
I've been to this class, and it is definitely great stuff. Definitely great stuff.
So you'll see we give you different courses. You get all the paperwork that goes with it, everything, and they're all written by Georgia attorneys, but they work in any state. We do Facebook Live for almost everything that we do, so you don't have to be there live if you don't want to. And it's recorded and put up there. I do a Monday call. I do a weekly coaching call at noon. So we try to hold you accountable. So it truly is a coaching program. We do group outings, like whenever we're allowed out, we can go to the boat, we do all kind of stuff together. I give you software. We do monthly seminars, and I do the every Wednesday meeting. Plus we do boot camps every so often. Once a quarter we try to, but not always the case, but it's a lot for what you get. And the pricing that's on there, don't pay attention to the pricing, because we're helping people out with the pricing.
Good stuff.
Because we know that's a difficult time and people want the education, but they can't really afford the normal pricing. So we're going to be adjusting it. And then tonight we are going to be, tonight's our PPG. So if you're interested in that, you can go to, let's see if I can make this any bigger so you can see it. I am assuming this is the right link to go to it, but it's areia.us/PPG online. That is tonight. We're off. Normally you have to be a member, but it's free to anybody that you want to go. We're going to talk about wraparound mortgages tonight. It starts at 6:30. And that, again, that is areia.us/PPG online. So if you're interested in that,
we got John Corbin. John Corbin's on the line. John, can you type that link in the comments, please? Thanks for joining us, by the way, John.
John's a PPG student. Yeah. He's a PPG guy. Georgette's PPG.
Yeah, he said, I can promise you this is the only tip of the iceberg. If you're looking for classroom type education, this is it. Good stuff. Good stuff, John.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So we have I mean, all I will tell you is come check it out. If it's for you, you'll get it. If it's not, you'll get that too.
Mike Murphy says, he says, tell Don that Mike sent you. Not really, say Glenn sent you.
Hey, Mike's a PPG guy too. We got lots. We have about 200 people in that program.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, listen, and I know there's value there. You know, like I said, I've come a couple times. I've become an honorary PPG member.
Yes, you're welcome anytime.
I was trying to find my iPad where I had the tag on it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got my PPG shirt.
Right. I gotta see. Is that the cricket thing over there on the desk there?
No. Oh, this thing? No, this is just a normal printer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But listen, hey, great stuff today, Don. Listen, you know, this is only part one of a series of these that we have to do, man. This is long overdue, and we're definitely gonna have to do this again. You know, just for, I mean, wow, for the sake of time, we've gone over a little bit. So I want to, John Corbin, if you're still with us, or Mike, either Georgette, whoever, do me a favor, if you guys recall the links. I know I put the HTRI link in there. I know that's ppgcoaching.com. Yeah. And then there was say the A address again, Don, do you still have that?
Okay. It is, let me see. Maybe I can put it up here. Can I put it up here?
I think you can.
Do you want me to put it in the chat? I guess I can put it in there. So.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah.
You can do ppgcoaching.com is our general site. HTREI.com is for, whoops.
Oh, you're putting it on the Zoom chat so that the audience won't see that.
Oh, how do I do that? Okay, here, I'll do it this way. I got it.
You got it on Facebook?
Nope, but I'm going to do it right here. I'll take this off and I'll type in, give me 1 second. So whoops. Give me a second. ppgcoaching.com will give you, that's spelled right. Mm-hmm. And then I'll give you the next one, the site for HTREI.com. Keeps auto correcting. Is for the courses. And then to sign up for this weekend or next weekend, you would go to area.us/ PPG online.
And did we miss the what's this? Oh,
So those are the 3 sites. This ppgcoaching.com just gives you information about coaching and how you could spend a year with us. You can also come tonight. And tonight's is going to be area.us/ppg online. Normally, I would just invite you personally, like invite you to come in person like you did, Glenn. But obviously, I have to control somehow who comes in and who doesn't, because this is a private coaching group. But I do like to give people 1 or 2 times for free just to check it out to see if it's going to work for them.
Definitely.
But this HTREI is where you would go if you wanted to buy something, or they can go through you.
Good stuff. Okay. All right. I guess that's the way to get in contact with you.
Yeah. I mean, if they want to talk to me personally, also, if you go to this ppgcoaching.com, there's a place for you to submit your deal. If you like, you can go there to, let's see if I can show you here. If you go to ppgcoaching.com, you can see up at the top right here where it says submit your deal right there. You can submit your deal and it only comes to me. So if you need some advice, I'm certainly not going to take your deal. I would never do that. But you can also go to consultations. And this is where you go. The others won't apply to someone that's not a PPG member, but you can go to, take these down and do a 30-minute consultation for free. So submit your deal, then do the 30-minute consultation. We can look at your deal and go on about your way. That's just ways you can get a hold of me.
Good stuff. Don, listen, thank you so much for all that you offered today. I hope that people appreciate that. And again, listen, I've always known you as a person that is open to helping people understand what this business is about. And I do hope that the people that take advantage of what you're offering truly get the value that I'm sure you're going to have, because again, the education that's going to be necessary for what's to come in our market, people really need to be paying attention to it. Really getting involved with people who are doing this, and not the ones, like you said, did it one time and then they're going to teach.
Well, that's why I made the comment about YouTube's outstanding. It's a great place to learn.
Yes.
But be careful. Don't just take snippets of something and think you're going to do this. I mean, we had a guy in Florida that bought a subject to deal literally on a napkin, and it was a complete disaster for him. And it didn't need to be that way. One piece of paper that if he had gotten it signed, would have made all the difference in the world.
Wow.
But he didn't know what he didn't know. So he didn't get it signed. And next thing you know, he's in a world of hurt.
Wow. And just investing just a little bit of money in learning the mistakes not to make is many times where the true value is. And people don't get that, once you make that investment, in many cases, just a one-time investment to learn something that you can take for the rest of your life and make millions of dollars with, so don't be afraid of investing in your education. Any parting words for the folks before we jump off?
No, just there's my number if anybody wants it.
Okay, good.
And that is my personal cell phone number. The only thing that I would tell you is now's the time to jump in, not jump out. But in order for you to jump in and be successful and thrive, you've got to be open to the idea of and be understanding of how you can finance these properties creatively.
Right.
So if you, I was, again, when I first started, I don't want to say I was broke. I wasn't broke. I didn't have bad credit. I didn't have any of that, right? I can't even say I came from rags to riches. I mean, I was an average run-of-the-mill middle income person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to use my credit. I didn't want to use my savings. I didn't want to use other people's. I didn't want to use my money. So I learned this business creatively from the very get-go.
Mm.
And it has changed how I look at life, because you're going to have problems every day. How you solve those problems is how you understand those problems first. You first have to understand the problem first, then work on a solution. If you don't understand the problem, you're just flailing and panicking. That's where panic sets in.
Mm.
So my advice to people is don't panic, get a plan, chip away at it. And Ron LeGrand gave me two pieces of advice 20 some years ago. He said, don't go down to the bank and borrow a bunch of money, and don't write big checks out of your bank account. And if you follow those two rules, you'll be okay. And I pass those on to everybody else. So if I could give you any advice, it would be that. I steal that advice from Ron LeGrand.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Great stuff. Listen, again, well, my story is a little bit different. I was broke, and I did have bad credit when I started. So creatively learning how to do deals was the only option I had when I got started.
Yeah.
And for the first 16 some odd years, I never used any of my own money or credit.
Nope.
So, and it was helpful, because now, even now, I've transitioned from that, and I use money or credit, from time to time on different things, depending on what it is. I still have that creative foundation, of what I learned when I got started. I learned from Carlton Sheets, and his whole thing was no money down, no credit, so I was like,
that was the first course I bought.
You're right. Yeah, me too. I said, I can do that. I don't have any money. Look, I had to borrow the money to get the course.
That was the first course I bought. Thought I was going to be a millionaire in the next 30 days.
I know, right? That's the mistake. A lot of the new people that get started, that's the mistake they make as well. But listen, Don, again, I can't thank you enough, man, for the information and the knowledge and the wisdom that you shared. It's very necessary in these times. You said something really major. Don't panic. Don't panic. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to help, because some people are going to panic anyway. But there's going to be plenty of opportunity to help those people that do panic, and that those people that don't have a plan, those people that don't understand how the processes work to get them through these storms that they're going to face. And for those of us that are educated, and those that can educate others, will be a part of the solution as opposed to a part of the problem. So that's our show for today. Don, we're definitely going to do a round two, or definitely a part two of this. And, by then you will have shown me how to use some of the technology that you have.
Got to get you a Mac first.
I know, right? Look, I think I'm probably going to order one today. But again, listen, I can't thank you enough, man, for what you do as a whole, not just this show, but I know the value that you bring to people on a regular basis. And for that, I am truly grateful. And on behalf of all the people that you touch, thank you. And thank you again, for all you do.
I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, folks, this has been the Real Life Real Estate Investing Show, where we talk about real life real estate situations, but it's always our goal to bring you real life real estate solutions. And I thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you all next week.